Well, I just want to say thank you to Mike, first off, for inviting me to come out here and talk to you guys today. It's always an honor, and I always feel really blessed I can come and share my story wherever I go, so today is no different. I've been asked to come and just share what my story is, what my mindset on life is, what caused me to be in the wheelchair, and how I just go about my life and stay so positive. Obviously, I'm in a wheelchair, but I don't want that to be the only thing that you remember me by, because I've done a lot of things in my life that I'm very proud of. Things that took me a long time to accomplish. With a lot of hard work and perseverance, I was able to do that. And I want to share just a few of those with you here. Number one, for me, education is very important. I went to Central Washington University and graduated from there back in 2009. I got my degree in IT and business. And because of that degree, it allowed me to become a web designer. I'm a freelance web designer, but I've also been the senior web designer at Pacific Lutheran University for about 4 years now. I'm also a business owner. I own multiple businesses. I'm an author, and I think that was one of the things I'm most proud of. I wrote a book, and it came out last December. And writing the book was a really emotional experience. It was somewhat therapeutic in a sense. I had to relive memories that I kind of forgot about and haven't thought about in a really long time. And when I say emotional, it's because when the injury first happened, it was a lot about figuring out what I was going to do with my life and figure out how I was going to move forward. It was a lot about me, and I wasn't really thinking about how it affected other people in my life. And I interviewed a lot of people who were close to me in this situation, and it was just very interesting and emotional to get their response for how it affected them. And it took a long time to write the book, but once I started, it was a pretty easy process for the most part. But I think the thing I'm really most proud of all the things that I've accomplished since my injury happened, is that I'm a speaker. I do a lot of motivational talks. I've done a lot of them this year, whether it's at schools, a business, sports teams, injury meeting groups, whatever it is. But the thing the talk I'm most proud of is when I did a TED Talk back in April. And if you know what TED Talks are, you'll understand how awesome of an opportunity that was for me and how powerful it was for me to be able to grace the stage where there's so many thought-provoking and world-changing kind of people that get to talk on those stages. So it was a really big moment for me, and hopefully it'll help propel me into bigger and better talks. Well, I'm gonna get into who I am, my story, what makes me tick and everything. No other reason I'm showing you this picture besides I thought I was a cute kid. That's me right here in the middle. There's my brother Adam, my older brother Aaron. That's my dad and my mom. Another picture, I thought I was just a cute kid. I want to show it to you guys. Those blue eyes just staring into your soul. But when I was younger, there's two things that kind of held my love, my attention, my passion for life. Number one for me was sports. And there was a lot of things that I loved about sports. It wasn't just the physicality of it and the camaraderie, but I loved a lot of the life lessons that it taught me. It taught me how to respect people. It taught me how to respect my opponent. It taught me how to take discipline and feedback and criticism from other people that weren't just my parents. And I had a lot of great, awesome coaches throughout my life to help propel me into the man that I am now. But the thing I love most about it was what it taught me about winning and losing. When you win, it feels good, right? It's really easy to have such an emotional high when you win. But what I think I like most about when I made a mistake or when I lost or when something didn't go my way is the lessons that I could learn from it. I can remember it was my sophomore year. We were playing against, I think it was Federal Way, and I went to make a tackle on a really explosive athlete. I went low, he hurdled me and ran for like 70 yards for a touchdown. And I can remember going to the sideline and all my coaches just chewed me out. But I learned a lot. The littlest thing was don't go low on that guy. But more so than that is I'm a huge Seahawks fan. And I think it was 2011, the year before we won the playoffs, or the Super Bowl, we went to the playoffs and played the Atlanta Falcons. And the whole game was a real big challenge for them. They finally got the lead back in the second half, and the Falcons got the ball back late, made a few plays, scored, and we lost. But the thing I really respected about watching the Seahawks go off of the field is how they held just their body language. They didn't go off the field pouting and moaning and complaining about things. Their heads were held high, and they knew that if they come back the next year and they learn how to move on from those mistakes, they'll be able to correct it and do big things. And the following year, we come out and destroy everybody and win the Super Bowl 43-8. And I think it was because of that loss the year before is what propelled them into all the success that they're currently going through. And that's one of the things, like I had said, about winning and losing. I think you learn more when you lose. And I think that life lesson can be applied in everything, not just sports. But besides football, that's when I think I was 9 years old in that picture, playing for the Puyallup Rough Riders. There's a picture of me and my brother. I played soccer when I was younger, and I can remember my dad taking me to soccer practice for the first time, and I was in tears on the way there because I didn't think soccer was a real sport. I just didn't want to play it. It didn't sound fun. I wanted to play football, basketball, and within 5 minutes of being at practice for the first time, I fell in love with it. I loved soccer. I ended up playing for a few years. I was on a travel team. We went to Vashon Island a bunch, and it was a lot of fun just kicking the ball around and making friends and having fun. I also played basketball, and even before, this is when I was in junior high. That's me right here, number 14, with my sweet hair. When I was in, I think it was 3rd grade, I played on my brother's 5th grade basketball team, and when I was in 4th grade, I played on his 6th grade basketball team. And it's always interesting thinking about that, because if you can imagine when you were that old, if you had a kid 2 or 3 years younger than you playing on the same team as you, it was kind of just weird because you're so much older than him. But I was so much faster and kind of more athletic than everybody that I could steal the ball and outrun everybody, but I was so uncoordinated that I remember always trying to lay the ball up and I'd just throw it off the backboard and miss it almost every single time. But I didn't care. I was having fun. And I get into junior high and I keep playing basketball. And this picture is kind of hard to see, but right here in the middle is my coach, Mr. Robinson. And this guy was scary. It was, we played Bethel Junior High, our rival. And they always beat us. They were just a team that always had our number. And we're losing to them pretty big going into halftime. And I can remember there's a few seconds left. They pass me the ball. I make a full court shot. The buzzer goes, and then I make it. And I put my arms up like, yeah, I made it. And my coach, I look at him, and he has just the meanest look on his face, like, put your hands down, boy. Why are you celebrating? We're losing. And it was just one of those things that I'll never forget, that coach in that moment. And I ran track in 7th and 8th grade. Clearly, I wasn't that good. I'm losing in this picture. But it was fun. It was a change of pace from playing just baseball or football or basketball. I decided that running track would be something that I didn't know if I could do, but I was fast, so I did it. I ran the hurdles and the 400 meter. I did the 100 meter dash. I think I was on a 4x1 relay team. I played baseball in 9th grade, and I was awful. But again, it was a sport. It was a lot of fun. I just have fun playing with my buddies and just competing. And I think that year, if I remember correctly, I think my batting stats, I think went 0 for 4. And they quickly realized Logan couldn't hit a baseball very well, so they didn't let me do it. And then I played football in junior high. I'm number 35 right here in the middle. And as you can tell, I think this was the time that Eminem was the cool guy, so I had my sweet bleached blonde hair. There it is again. And then I get into high school, and I really started to focus on basketball and football. And football really started to kind of show its face to me that it could be something I could do in the future. It could take me places that if I put in the work and the dedication and the effort that I know I can, it could be something that could take me to college and beyond. So I think it was the second game my sophomore year, I would get put up to varsity and end up being a starter as a safety and as a running back. And I made a lot of big plays in the opportunities that I had. And the end of the year comes around, and I get voted a captain of my team. I was getting recruitment letters from Boise State and the University of Washington. And I was getting feedback from external sources really showing that I could do something with football. And my coach at the time, John Roback, he wanted to take select athletes that wanted to participate and do this workout. It was called a metabolic workout. And not knowing what it was, but being the person that I am, I said, sure, let's go work out. I didn't have a car at the time. I couldn't drive. So I borrowed my neighbor's bike, and I lived about 8 miles away from the school. And I actually went here at Spanaway Lake. And so I would ride my bike from my house to the gym 7 or 8 miles, and then I'd do this workout, which was probably the most intense workout I've ever done. It was about 45 to 50 minutes of just high intensity, really not much of a break of a workout. And I did that for, I think it was about a month and a half, 2 months going into my junior year. And I put on about 25 to 30 pounds of muscle mass. And so I'm going to my junior year. I was 5'10", about 185. I think I ran a 4.8 40, had a 34-inch vertical. I was squatting projected max about 400 pounds. I was cleaning 265. I was getting to a point in my career where I was getting bigger, faster, and stronger, and all the while I was also getting smarter about the game of football, and I'm just going into my junior year, and I really knew that if I continue to put in that hard work, that Division I football was a reality for me. But that changed, and I'll get that here in a second. As I mentioned, there's 2 things that kind of held my love and my passion when I was a kid. Number 1 was sports, and number 2 for me was girls, right? But it wasn't just any old girl. There was one girl I had my eye on for quite some time. But as luck would have it, she had a boyfriend. But I think it was sometime in my 8th grade year, about October, November or so, and it was either I was at a basketball game or it was at a volleyball game. And she's up in the stands talking with her boyfriend, but things just don't look like they're going very well. A few minutes later, he's walking away and she's in tears. So, you know, being Mr. Charming that I am, I go up to her and just kind of ask, you know, what's going on? What's wrong? A few minutes later, come to find out, he just broke up with her. And remind you, this is a girl that I kind of had a crush on for a while. And I just found out her boyfriend broke up with her, but now she's single. And so in the back of my mind, I'm doing jumping jacks, right? I'm excited because knowing she's single, but I can't let her see that I'm excited that she just got dumped. So, you know, time goes by and we start talking once a week, twice a week, 3, 4 times a week, and eventually it's almost every night for hours. And months go by and I finally build up the courage, the self-esteem to ask her out. And on March 9th, 2001, she says yes to date me. And the reason I know that is because to this day, we're still together. We've been together, I'm 29 now. I asked her out when I was 13 years old. It's been 15 and a half years. So I've been with her longer in my life than I've not been with her. And I speak very highly of her, and my heart is on my sleeve about her because she's very important to me. I don't think I'd be who I am or where I am at this point in my life without her. And we've always had a really, really deep love for each other, kind of like love at first sight, soulmate kind of relationship, and certain things have happened throughout the course of our relationship and my injury that I can't really explain. But we're doing the junior high thing, you know, going to dances, doing all that stuff. We didn't have phones because they weren't really around at that time, so we write notes to each other and pass them to each other in the hallway. And we started doing this thing every month that we would make basically like an anniversary card for each other every single month on the 9th of the month. And we did that for, I think it was 5 years. I think we have 60 of those things laying around. I still have all of them in my house. They're all boxed up. But it was just something that we wanted to do because we were junior high school kids. We didn't have any money, so we wanted to do something for each other that wasn't just a monetary gift. So we wanted to have these things that we could remember each other. We do all the dances, like I mentioned, going to prom and Tolo and all that good stuff. And then we get into high school, and Jordan always had this, that was her name, Jordan. She always had this innate ability to know when something was wrong or something bad was going to happen. And I can remember sitting in my buddy Steven's driveway before I was going to get in his mom's car and go to the high school to go to football camp. We had a conversation, and she just told me she doesn't want me to go to camp. And she doesn't know why. She just feels like something's going to happen. But Mr. Stubborn person that I am, I say, you know, it's going to be fine. Everything's going to be fine. I'm going to go to camp. I'll come back, and we'll continue our high school, and, you know, everything will be awesome. We go to camp, and that year our team was really clicking on every level. The chemistry was through the roof. We had really awesome athletes. And the way camp would work, leading up to the final day, we did a lot of individual and team drills. We couldn't scrimmage anybody. And it didn't matter if it was the individual drill or team drill, we were dominating it. Come the last day of camp, we actually got a scrimmage team, so we were all hyped. And the way the scrimmages would work is we run 10 plays of offense and we switch and run 10 plays of defense. So the first scrimmage of the day was against, I think, Battleground, if I remember correctly. And so we do our 10 plays of offense, do really well. We switch, do our 10 plays of defense, and we win the scrimmage. And then we go to the next scrimmage, and it's against Redmond High School. And so we run our 10 plays of offense. I think we end up scoring a touchdown like on the 6th or 7th play. And we do our 10 plays of defense. As we're running off the field, my defensive coordinator and a few of the other coaches yell out, hey, let's run one more play. Okay, sweet, let's run one more play. And as I have mentioned, I'm a safety. If you don't know, what a safety's job is in football is to either help defend the pass or defend the run. I always had a really good instinctual ability that when the ball was snapped, I could tell if it was a run or pass. The ball snapped and I can tell right away it's a pass play. So I locate who I'm supposed to be guarding, and I can tell that the receiver, just the way his body language is, he's going to be running a route towards me. So as a defensive back, you get down in your stance and you start backpedaling. So I'm doing my back pedal. I see the receiver and he runs a post route right towards me. And I look back and forth between the receiver and the quarterback, and I notice the quarterback's about to start throwing the ball. So I make my break and I start running towards the receiver. He goes up to catch the ball, and the crazy thing is he doesn't even catch the ball. So I tackle the guy for no reason. Yeah, that's awesome. Why are you laughing, Susie? He goes up to catch it, he puts his arm out, and he actually just tips it off of his hand. But I was already too focused on trying to blow this guy up that I don't even see that. He tips the ball, and my initial trajectory of where I wanted to tackle him is I wanted to put my shoulder into his chest. At the last minute, what I think happens is he rotates his body, and my face mask goes right into his chest, right into the numbers of his jersey. And when that happens, when I hit him, for me running at a full sprint and him running at a full sprint and jumping, we hit each other so violently that his arms go around my helmet and his body snaps to the side and it snaps my neck, and I break my neck. And I'm instantly paralyzed. And now I'm laying on the ground, motionless. I'm conscious, but I can't move. I don't know what happened. I've had stingers before where it was kind of like a minor concussion where my vision almost went blurry and almost green. I felt really woozy. But I've never had anything like this happen before. And I can remember, if you can imagine, I'm laying down on the grass and all I can see is my left hand sticking out. And I can't do anything. I'm trying with all my power to just wiggle my fingers, do something, show my teammates that I'm okay, but I can't. And it was at this time where the receiver tipped the ball. One of our other safeties, Will Davis, he intercepts it and he starts running it back for a touchdown. So all my teammates and coaches in the sideline, they're celebrating, watching him run for a touchdown. And then they look back and see that Logan's not getting up. And I always got up, so they clearly know something's wrong. And I'm pretty sure it was one of my coaches, Brian Corpus, who got to me first. And I can remember his hand going down on mine, and I couldn't feel it. And the only way I've been able to explain what it felt like, because when it happened, I didn't feel any pain. It just happened, and I was on the ground, is I felt like a fish out of water almost. Something was just off. If your foot has ever fallen asleep and it starts to wake up and it feels really tingly and like it's on fire almost and really hot, that's how my whole body felt. Just my whole equilibrium of my body was off. I thought that my knees were completely tucked into my chest, but they were straight. And it was just a really weird sensation that I can't really explain. And I hope you will never know what that feels like. So knowing all this kind of about who I was leading up to the injury, knowing that I was getting recruited to play football, that I was getting bigger, faster, and stronger, that I had an awesome girlfriend, that kind of everything about my life was, if you will, perfect. And within a split second, it all comes crashing down. I like to pose the question to everybody, how would you react? How would you move forward? How would you make the decision to be positive and to persevere through all of it? Fortunately for me, it's been because of something that I've always liked to call 10 and 90. And when I was in the hospital bed recovering, my high school coach, John Roback, he told me a quote that really set me up for everything about who I am. And the quote reads, "Life is 10% what happens to me and 90% how I react to it." And I'm going to read that again. I want you to listen to it very, very carefully. Life is 10% what happens to me and 90% how I react to it. That's a very important thing to me, and I feel like it's something that can translate to everybody, not just somebody who's played sports. And there's a lot of characteristics and attributes that make up what 10 and 90 is. And also about attitude, belief, commitment, discipline, perseverance. Positivity is a key one. And choosing to not let life dictate who you are as a person. What 10 and 90 means to me basically is that it doesn't matter what happens. It's what you do about what happens. So for me, breaking my neck, it doesn't matter. The fact that I can't play football anymore doesn't matter. The fact that I'm not doing the things in my life at this point that I thought I'd be doing, it doesn't matter. What matters is how I react to it. I could have decided to just be negative and give up and throw in the towel, but that's just not who I am. Along the lines of all those kind of attributes that I discussed, there's one that I really, really like, and it's called grit. And there's a lady named Dr. Angela Duckworth. She's a professor of psychology at the University of Pennsylvania. She describes grit in the best way that I've been able to see. And she says it's the tendency to sustain interest in and effort towards very long-term goals. And it's broken into two categories, passion and perseverance. When you set goals for yourself, no matter how big or how small they are, if you consistently can persevere through all the struggles that you're going through, and if you have passion for whatever it is in your life, and you understand why you're doing the things you are, why you're pushing yourself so hard to get there, in my mind, it doesn't matter. You will have success, and you will accomplish those goals. And as I mentioned, I'm a huge Seahawks fan. The Seahawks, she's actually spoke with Pete Carroll quite a few times. And what I like about them is that they like to bring in players who have this characteristic about them, this idea that it doesn't matter where they came from. It doesn't matter if they've been overlooked their whole career, if they're too small, too slow. But they have the drive within them to prove the doubters wrong, to prove to people that it doesn't matter, I will succeed. And they also have, it's a little loud. They also have somebody on their staff, his name's Dr. Michael Gervais. And he basically, his whole job is to make sure that the Seahawks are performing at their peak, not only as athletes, but just as people, not only on the field, but also off the field. And I like the way he describes achievement. It's very simple. It's a demonstration in advance in performance. When you achieve something, there's a noticeable outcome. And I like how those things kind of intertwine with each other, because when you have grit and you set goals for yourself and you push yourself every single day to achieve those goals, when you do achieve them, it doesn't matter what it is, you have to celebrate it. When my injury first happened, I couldn't move. I couldn't even clean my ears with a Q-tip. I couldn't feed myself. So when I was able to pick up a grape and feed it to myself, I was ecstatic because I got some form of independence back. And then it was just one thing after another. So if we flash back when my injury happens, I'm now in the hospital having to just figure out what I'm going to do with my life, because now it's changed. I was so naive to the seriousness of the injury that I thought a few months would go by and I'd be back playing football. Obviously that didn't happen. And I had so many people there cheering me on, keeping my spirits high, giving me positive feedback that I couldn't be negative. Not only the fact that I had so much positive emotions being fed to me, but because I felt like I couldn't let all my friends and family down. And there's a picture of Jordan here feeding me Otter Pops. And that was awesome. That was, I think, second or third day after the injury happened. And Otter Pops were and still are one of my favorite things ever. So, of course, I had to eat some. And here's a picture that I really like looking at. Is that I've had my coaches there nonstop, whether it was family, friends, teammates, coaches, 24 hours a day. I mean, the nurses and the doctors would try to kick them out, but they wouldn't let them. They're always there to make sure that my mind was where it needed to be. And as you can see on Oh no, that's Roback right there. As you see on his shirt, it says PTP, and I think those shirts were even made before my injury, and what that stands for is pay the price. And it became kind of a very in sync thing with what happened to my injury, is that I have to now pay the price to get to where I want to go. And I was willing to put in the effort. Put on my neck brace. There's a picture of me and Jordan. I mean, I don't know why she was so happy with what's going on here. But again, how could I be negative when I had so many people there who loved me and wanted me to stay focused on what I needed to do? So I started setting goals for myself. And that's kind of what I've been doing basically my whole life, setting goals and striving to get to them. So I break my neck. What's the thing that I want to do? Well, I want to be able to stand up. And I can remember, I think it was about a month and a half or so. It's like 11:30 at night. One of the nurses is coming in to help me go take a shower or whatever it was. And she's wheeling me into the bathroom, and out of nowhere, my left leg twitched. And it was almost like it was me making it do that. And she saw it too, and she asked me, did you do that? I don't know. She says, try doing it again. Okay. So I try, and sure enough, I move my leg. I go crazy, and I start calling everybody. I think I called my coach, my friends, my family, everybody at like midnight, just ecstatic that I was able to get movement back. And I woke up the next morning to one of the physical therapists basically saying, so I heard you can move now. I'm like, well, can I at least like celebrate it and sleep in a little bit? So I started doing, I think it was 4, 5, 6 hours of therapy per day. I'd wake up, and the therapy sessions consisted of me laying on a mat trying to roll over, trying to lift my shoulder blade up. And that doesn't sound like much, but when you can't move, that's the hardest workout you're ever going to have. And so once I was able to get some sort of movement back in my legs, they got me strapped up, and I don't know if you can see it, but I have braces all over my legs like I'm Forrest Gump. And I think this was October, if I believe. Yeah, I think that says October 14. My injury happened July 2nd, 2003. So about 3 months after the injury happened, I had set a goal for myself, so I wanted to stand up. So they also have this strap that went around my chest, or my stomach area. And I get into these parallel bars, and I put my feet out, and with the 1, 2, 3, basically they picked me up, and I felt like I was trying to squat like 2,000 pounds, the hardest thing I've ever had to do. But I stand up, and I get really lightheaded. I catch my balance, and I use all my strength in my upper body that I had to keep myself from falling. And it was after that day, the realization that I was going to be okay really started to sink in. So being able to stand was one thing. Being able to take steps and to balance without having anybody help me there is a completely different thing. So I started doing more and more therapy. And if you can see Jordan's face right here, she doesn't look very thrilled. So I think this is like 7 o'clock in the morning, and she had joined me for therapy. But I started doing hours upon hours of therapy, trying to just strengthen every single muscle that I could possibly even move at the time. That's just a terrible picture. I'm tired or something. But, so I started being able to take some steps, and they put these little things on my feet that would help my feet slide across the carpet or the floor, whatever the material was that I was taking steps on. And I started being able to take 1 step. The next day was 2 steps. The next day was 3 steps, and then 5 feet, 10 feet, 20 feet. To the point where from walking to the therapy room to the front of the hospital, that was probably, I don't know, 200, 250 feet or so. But it took me probably like 25 minutes to do that. And I remember this day very clearly because I got to the front of the hospital, I turn around, my dad takes a picture of me with my arms up, and I'm excited. And that was one of my physical therapists named Corinne. And after he takes the picture, she says, put your hands down and walk back. I'm like, why can't I have some sort of excitement around here? So, that's what I do. I walk back, and I'm sweating like crazy. And then I just keep walking. I keep trying to take as many steps as I possibly can and to further my strength. And I start setting even more goals for myself. And the biggest goal for me that I initially had after that is I wanted to be able to walk across the stage with no help and get my diploma when I graduated high school. So my injury happened in 2003, going to my junior year. So I had about 2 years from the time it happened to when I graduated to be able to do that. So I would go, my sister-in-law, now sister-in-law, at the time girlfriend's younger sister, she would come pick me up from my house in the morning. She'd take me to the hospital sometimes. And I would do therapy for about an hour or so, and I'd take the bus from the hospital to school. And I did that every single day until I graduated high school. And come graduation time, I'm getting ahead of myself here. I remember doing this. This was really cool, is that even though my injury happened, my coaches still wanted me to be a part of the team and still wanted me to feel as though even though I was in a wheelchair, nothing had changed. So they let me come to practices. They let me actually be one of the coaches for the JV team. And I used to coach like I was playing a video game. If you ever heard of a game called Madden, I always blitz. So that was my play call. What are we doing here? I don't know, let's blitz. It's 3rd and 2, okay, let's blitz. It's 1st and 10, okay, let's blitz. But it worked. You know, we actually beat a few teams with my play calling, and it was actually pretty fun. But they let me come to these scrimmages, and I just want to be a part of the guys again. So I would bring the walker, and I'd just stand with them. And I'd break the huddle with them. I would just try to be a part of the team because that's just what I wanted to do. I didn't want to feel like I was anything different. And this was a really cool moment. We got a new field at Art Crate Field, and we got new field turf installed. And a way to open that is they let me walk across the field and cut the ribbon. And that was a really cool thing for me because all the people that were there to not just watch the game, they were there kind of celebrating and cheering me on and rooting for me to not only succeed, I think, at this very moment, but in the future. And that was a really cool moment to be able to do that and share with my coaches and family and everybody. So June of 2005 comes. And the goal I set for myself to walk across the stage of graduation comes. I stand up in the walker with nobody's help, and I walk across the stage, and it was at PLU, and that gym can hold a lot of people. Maybe 3,000 to 4,000 people were there. Everybody's chanting my name like Logan, Logan, and it was awesome. It was awesome to know I still had all the support so many years later when they didn't necessarily need to do that, but they did, and it was still so empowering to me to know that I had all the support to continue on. So after graduating high school, I set a goal for myself is I want to go to college. And being the person that I am is I want to go to the school where my life changed forever. So this is a picture of me overlooking the field at Central Washington University where football camp was. And if you've ever been in like a car accident or something has kind of scarred you in a sense that when you drive past that location or you see that location again, it just brings up emotions and thoughts and feelings. That's what it was for me seeing this field. I remember seeing it for the first time. I just broke down in tears because it was just years prior that my life changed forever and it would never be the same after that day. And college was fun. It was scary. I was now living on my own. I didn't have my dad or whoever it was helping take care of me. It was basically me. And it was a learning process. It was a learning process how to take a shower by myself, how to go to a cafeteria and get my own food to eat for the day, how to get to and from class. And sometimes if it was raining outside, I wouldn't go to class because I was fearful I wouldn't be able to make it. Because going from my dorm to my classes, it was all slightly downhill, which was fine. But then going from my classes back to my dorm was all slightly uphill. And my hand strength is better now, but it's still limited. But especially then, I couldn't grip the wheelchair very well, and my hands would get so slippery to the point where I couldn't push myself, and I'd have to ask somebody to help push me 10 minutes or so back to my dorm room, and it was embarrassing. It was embarrassing going from a star athlete to now having to ask somebody to push me back to my dorm room, and especially when it was snowing. That was frustrating in multiple ways. One of the things I really didn't like is on this wheelchair, if you can see it, there's these little guards here on the side. They're basically weather guards. So if I'm wheeling through snow or rain or dirt, it keeps it from getting on my clothes. For some reason, I didn't have that on that wheelchair. And so I would get to class on days that it would be raining, and my pants and my shirt were just soaked. They were dirty. I'd have to go into the bathroom and spend 5–10 minutes with paper towels and the blow dryers just trying to dry off. And it was frustrating. But as with anything, I pushed through it, and I was able to succeed. And then after my freshman year, Jordan actually transferred to college with me, and we were able to live together in an apartment. And here's our sweet little apartment. As you can see, Jordan decorated with the fancy blanket here. And but the whole goal was graduating. But amongst that is, I know Jordan was tired of driving me around, basically being my taxi. So I wanted to start driving again. And being in a wheelchair, how do you think I would drive? Well, I didn't know. My first thought is I'd have to use hand controls. And I went back, I think it was my sophomore or junior year of college. I go back to Good Sam, the hospital, and I do a test basically to see if I can drive my own car. So they put me in this car, and they had hand controls on it. And within seconds of trying it, I didn't like it. The way the hand controls would work is there was like a bar that'll come out on the side of the steering wheel, and there's a handle on it. And I think you would push it in for gas and pull it down for the brake or whatever it was. And my right hand is much weaker than my left hand, even to this day. So trying to drive a car one-handed with my right hand was almost impossible. So I'm looking at the therapist guy who's with me like, man, this isn't gonna work. I'm not gonna be able to do it. He was like, well, your legs are somewhat strong, right? I'm like, yeah, my left leg's, it's not bad. I can move my ankle around. So okay, let's try left foot gas pedal. Instantly, it was normal to me. And that's what this picture is showing right here. This is a left-footed gas pedal. And basically all it is I push the gas with this thing on the left side. There's the brake as normal. And as I push it, the whole thing rotates and pushes on the actual accelerator. And that's like $400 or $500 versus thousands of dollars for a hand control setup. And so I started looking for a car, and this is the first car that I bought. It was a piece of work, 1992 Integra. But it got me from point A to point B, and I was ecstatic because now I could drive to the store myself. I could go and do things on my own. I could go get Jordan something to eat if she wanted it. Whatever it was, I had independence back in my life that was, in a way, taken from me for such a long time. And the next picture I'm going to show you is just because I'm proud of the car that I currently drive. It's a 2007 Audi. Very proud of it. Her name's Rosie. She's the other love of my life. There's really no reason. I just think it's a nice car. And so all throughout college, what's your goal? For me is I want to graduate. I don't want to take extra long, but I can remember my first year of college is I didn't take it very serious. I was a really good student in high school. I graduated like 22nd out of like 600 students. Had a 3.95 GPA. School was very easy for me. But my first year of college, I didn't take the SATs, so I was in intermediate math and English. And my other two classes, I can't remember what the classes were. I think one of them was an economics class, and that was a snooze fest. So I got an A in one of the classes, and I got a D in my economics class. So my GPA for my very first quarter of college was 1.5. And I was on academic probation. And so now I have to go to these classes after school that's basically saying like, school's important, son, you gotta take class important. And it was embarrassing, so I decided, okay, I'll start taking school seriously. But because of that awesome start to my college career, I had to take summer classes to be able to catch up so I could graduate on time in just 4 years. And throughout the struggles and the perseverance of just college, for me physically, and just the school workload itself, come graduation, I was able to graduate in 4 years. And not only that, but Jordan joined me. And that was a really cool moment for me to be able to graduate with Jordan at the same time. But not only that is I was actually selected to be the commencement speaker at my college graduation. And that was a really cool thing too. And it really kicked in my athletic side in a sense because it was like a playoff. I had to beat 10 other speakers to become the speaker. It wasn't just, Logan, you're the speaker. And I had to go through many meetings and practicing my speech in front of a lot of people and basically getting judged. And every single time, my speech trumped everyone else's. So I was selected to do it, and I think there was 5,000 plus people there, students, families. And that was my first real foray into public speaking, and I loved it. It was a moment for me to be able to share my story in a very quick way, but also in a pretty powerful way because there was a lot of people there. And so I graduate. I'm setting goals for myself still, but the next goal is I wanted to do something a bit more personal. So I want to get married. And I asked Jordan to marry me. Luckily, she says yes. And on August 16th, 2009, we get married. I said it right. And it was an awesome day. And so not only the goal of marrying this woman that I've been in love with since I was 13 years old is I wanted to stand up during the whole ceremony. That was a really important thing for me. And it's not that I'm embarrassed by the wheelchair, because I'm not in any way, but I wanted to be able to stand to prove to myself that I can stand up for that long. So throughout the whole ceremony, I stand, we say our vows, kiss each other, and become man and wife. And it was an awesome moment, one that I'll never forget. And being able to start drive again and being able to start move again and all those things was very, very important to me. But I think this was probably one of the most important days of my life because I was finally able to marry the person that has meant so much to me throughout my whole life. And so once we get married, as grandparents always do, they start, so when are you having kids? Like, whoa, slow down. Like, let us enjoy our 20s a little bit. But, as fate would have it, we do have a daughter. Her name is Skylar. And she was born February 17th, 2012. And it was one of those things where if you have a kid, you understand what it means to love someone that much, and if you come home from a bad day, and for me, I've come home from days where it was just a frustrating day or things didn't go my way. All it takes is 4 simple words from my daughter. It's, I love you, Daddy, and everything's fine. I'm getting emotional. There's a picture of Jordan and I think this was my birthday a few years ago. And there's a picture of us pretty recently. That's my little family. It's me and Jordan and our daughter and my maniac of a dog, Deuce. So throughout it's now been about 13 and a half years since my injury happened. Throughout it all, I've consistently been able to move forward and to persevere and to do things that I knew I could do, but I knew it would take hard work to get to. And for me, it was all because of these things that I've kind of identified in my life that were kind of my passions in life. And whether you set goals for yourself now or not, I challenge you, all of you, to set or to figure out at least 3 things in your life that you're passionate about. Because when you do, you'll understand why it is you're pushing yourself so hard to get to where you want to go. So for me, number 1, my biggest passion in my life is my family. And I start talking about them and I cry like a big baby. But as I mentioned, it's one of those things that it doesn't matter how my day went. I know that they're going to be there. I know they're going to be there to lift me up and to keep my spirits going even when it feels like I can't. Family is very important to me. Number 2 for me is my health. I go to the gym every day except the weekends, every day in the morning, and I work out because I've always loved to work out, but because now I think it's more important. I can keep my health up and keep the physical ability that I do have so I can continue to progress with my rehab. But it's not just the physical side of things for me. It's also the mental side of things when I talk about health. That's what 10 and 90 is all about, is I constantly try to put in positive thoughts and ideas and people into my life, because I think positivity is one of the big things and one of the big reasons why I am where I am in my life. The mind is very powerful. If you put in good positive thoughts, The only outcome is going to be positive results. Just as if you swap that around, you put in negative thoughts in people, it's going to spread like a virus. So surround yourself with positivity, surround yourself with positive people and ideas, and you'll be able to do things. And the last thing for me is I love inspiring people, whether that's me directly or indirectly doing it. Going to the gym in the morning has allowed me to meet a lot of people. And I've had people come up to me at the gym and say, hey man, you're the reason I'm able to get up and come to the gym in the morning because I know you're going to be here. And if you can do it, I can do it. When I did my TED Talk back in April, I had a lady come up to me and she said that her 14-year-old son was with her in the audience. And he struggled with drug addiction for a really long time. And because of my story and the way I go about my life, her son wanted to clean himself up and get off of drugs. And I didn't know that my story could have that impact on somebody. But if it was just that one person in that 600 or 700 person crowd that night that I was able to positively inspire and affect, then I've done my job. I think there's a Will Smith quote where he says, if you're not trying to change someone's life for the better every single day, then you're basically wasting your time. And so that's what I try to do with my story. And the last thing I want to say with you guys is I always like to share this story because it really shows the power of being positive versus being negative. A few months before my injury happened, I had heard about this dude named Tim. He broke his neck and had a spinal cord injury, really similar to my level of injury. It was scheduled that Tim was going to come see me at the hospital. I'm not sure how that was even set up. But Tim comes in my hospital room, and I thought he was going to give me the, kind of the light at the end of the tunnel talk, saying like, this is what your life could be if you put in the work to do this and do that. But that's the exact opposite of what Tim did. All he did was tell me just negative after negative. Is that my friends would want to hang out with me anymore, my girlfriend would dump me, my family would treat me like an outcast, and just kind of this, that, and the other. And in a way, I feel like I should thank him for that because he really showed me what it looks like to be negative. And it was a really eye-opening moment for me is that I don't want to be that. I don't want to be negative. I want to be somebody who can be positive. I want to be somebody who can uplift others and use my story as a way to help others. So I decided that from that point forward, I was going to be positive. I was going to take it that, you know what, it happened. Nothing I can do about it except move forward. About 2.5 years ago, I get a phone call from a buddy of mine. He's a police officer. And he says, Logan, guess who I just had to arrest? I don't know, man, who? He says, Tim. I just had to arrest Tim. Apparently, he was trying to punch his mom when she was just trying to help him eat. And when I heard this, it took me back, but it was a huge affirmation for me in the fact that choosing to go down this road of positivity, never giving up, and always trying to do better for my life, it's put me in a position to have success. It's put me in a position to do something bigger than I ever thought I could, all because of my mindset. And you compare that with Tim and his negative way of life, look where I got him. And so I'll say this to you, don't ever listen to the doubters in your life and the people who all they want to do is just be negative and tear you down. When my injury first happened, I was told by the doctors that I'd never move or have feeling for the rest of my life. Well, if I were to listen to them, I wouldn't be able to stand up. No, thank you. I won't be able to stand up and tell you guys right here and right now that anything is possible. Life isn't fair sometimes, and it will challenge you, and it will knock you down, but it doesn't matter. What matters and what's most important is how you react to it. Start setting goals for yourself, doing everything in your power to achieve them, and I guarantee you will find success. And for me, that's the power of always believing. That's the power of never giving up. That's the power of 10 and 90. Thank you.